Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and of course, the Transformers Marathon is still continuing. Now, we've come to the second to last Transformers film. Yes, that's right. Following up to Age of Extinction, we have The Last Night. Yes. So, Transformers The Last Night, yeah, right next to Age of Extinction, considered to be one of the worst Transformers films. But, I didn't think it was that bad. I understood, what was going on and, what the story/plot was doing, and because I think it was pretty epic. I mean, if, the story had been a lot better, because I tell you, because it could have been a lot better than what we got, to some audiences. But I have no doubt that there are those like myself that enjoyed this film. And, of course, definitely those that don't like this film. All right, but now I'll read the description/the story. Humans are at war with the Transformers, and Optimus Prime is gone. The key to saving the future lies buried in the secrets of the past and the hidden history of Transformers on Earth. Now it's up to the unlikely alliance of inventor Cade Yeager, once again played by Mark Wahlberg, Bumblebee, an English lord, and an Oxford president to save the world. So there is a lot that happens in this film. Because like what some of the other Transformers films had done, start off with something that happened in the past, like, one which is, the one Autobot ship that crashed on the moon because of the whole discovery on the moon in 1969 in Age of Extinction. The Decepticons, yeah, they were the ones that obliterated the population of dinosaurs on Earth. Yeah, so in this film, we get medieval times because magic was discovered by the Autobots, basically. And we get freaking Arthur, Lancelot, and Merlin in this. And Merlin being played by Stanley Tucci. Yeah, I knew that Stanley Tucci was in this, but I had no idea that, he's not Joshua, but he's instead Merlin. And something about Merlin and this staff that he has, which is a big part of the film. So yeah. And Autobots, they had helped and served with the knights, from Lancelot, Merlin, and Arthur. And apparently, because Optimus Prime, because he has not returned to Earth and he's still been out in space, because some of the stuff that had been brought up in Age of Extinction, and, we see it happen in this film. Optimus, he has the seed, and he's trying to, find what's left of Cybertron, and to find his creator, again, as it was brought up in Age of Extinction, the one who created Optimus Prime, and we see the one who has created Optimus Prime. But while that's going on, yeah, still, nothing looks too good for, the Autobots that are on Earth, Again, humans are still at war with the Autobots and the Decepticons, and this new group called, TRF. Yeah, I think I got that right. Yeah, TRF. And TRF, it's short for Transformers Reaction Force. And those that are a part of the TRF are some familiar faces. Colonel William Lennox, once again played by Josh Duhamel. Yeah, I think I still got the last name right. And one thing about Lennox is, him being a part of the TRF, he knows that the Autobots, they're not the bad ones. And, I can tell that, he hates doing this and being a part of this, but, he has no choice. So I think, I think that makes sense. And I think I can tell. Some of the other characters that we get, like, we do get some familiar faces that we hadn't seen in a while since Dark of the Moon. But before I get to them, some of the new characters aside from Cade. Well, of course, Cade Yeager once again, played by Mark Wahlberg, as I said. He's still on the run, and at this point, and the film does establish this, of course, that his daughter Tess, now in college, and I would assume that, that she would still be with her boyfriend, Shane. Yeah, I would assume, and, they're happily together, etc. And, Cade, he can't really talk on the phone with Tess because, the TRF, they would track his location, by listening to his voice, stuff like that. Like, the technology for you, and in this film, so, and him and the Autobots, we of course get the returning appearance of Bumblebee, but along with Bumblebee, some of the Autobots that we saw in Age of Extinction, Hound, Drift, and Crosshairs, they're back, and, they're hiding out in this junkyard. And, of course, one familiar face that we get, which is an Autobot that's with them at the junkyard, Wheels. Wheels is back, once again voiced by Tom Kenny. And also, almost forgot to mention, the Dinobots, such as Grimlock, they're at the junkyard as well. And there are also these tiny baby Dinobots. They can be cute at times. And so even at one point, Cade Yeager helped out these kids that basically got into, a closed off section of like Autobots, stuff like that. And then one older kid, that's older than them, Isabella, helps out the kids, escape and survive. And Isabella, being played by Isabella Merced, if I'm saying the last name right. I think so. And fun fact about Isabella Merced, she would go on to play Dora in the live-action Dora the Explorer movie, Dora and the Lost City of Gold. That's her. And, the fact that she had worked with Michael Bay in this Transformers film and would go on to work with him again in the Dora films. And it's weird because there's one Autobot that helps out, save the kids. I think by the name of Canopy. And turns out that, I don't know, Canopy is Isabella's boyfriend? Why? Like, that seems weird, don't you think? But, I mean, how much that she cares about, Canopy. So, and, well, unfortunately, Canopy doesn't survive. And thus, Cade Yeager comes in to help the kids, and they do know who he is, because of what he did in the last film. So, and thus, Isabella and, there was this one robot by the name of Squeaks, and Squeaks was voiced by Rena Wilson. And another robot slash Autobot. I think, Squeaks is an Autobot. That's alongside with Isabella. And, even Isabella points out to Cade that her name, has a Z instead of an S. So Isabella, and Squeaks, they join Cade at the junkyard, and, we get a little bit of Isabella's backstory, that she lost her family during one of the battles of, the Autobots and Decepticons, all that. And she was not, she even said that she was not planning to, be in a foster home and stuff like that, and she ran. And yeah, and the junkyard, because some funny moments in the junkyard with some of the Autobots, and another new character that that joins Cade. I believe it's him, yeah. Jimmy, played by Jared Carmichael. Yeah, Jared Carmichael plays Jimmy. And yeah, Jimmy has some funny moments. And, he's just not wanting to go to jail and stuff like that, yeah. And there was one Autobot who we got just one appearance of in the film. He's like a junk collector and delivering some junk and some parts to Cade and the Autobots. And, yeah, I thought he was a pretty cool Autobot. Day Trader, voiced by Steve Buscemi. Yeah, and it's pretty cool because for one thing, Steve Buscemi and John Goodman, they have done so many films, from Big Lebowski and Monsters Incorporated, and now this. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And of course, good friendship between them. So, Day Trader brings in some, again, spare parts, and even say a new voice box for Bumblebee, because it seems like, yeah, Bumblebee is going to get his voice back, because as we all know, his voice being broken, and he's using the radio to do communications. So yeah. And by the way, because that one sequence where, Cade, and with the help of Isabella and Wheels, trying to repair Bumblebee's voice, putting it in, and I did recognize this. There's a bit of an audio sample from Back to the Future. Marty McFly saying, "You're the Doc." So that was pretty cool. And I do remember, in the first Transformers film, there was a bit of Star Trek. I heard Uhura's voice and the communicator. I remember that very well. So I like that. And apparently, Bumblebee's new voice box, I think it's it's one of those, speaking voices of, say, Siri or Echo or something like that. Yeah, something like that. And of course, Bumblebee is pissed about that. Yeah. But to speed things up, at one point, the TRF does find the location of the Autobots in the junkyard. But not to mention, the TRF teamed up with the Decepticons, and we once again get the appearance of Megatron. He went from being called Galvatron, now back to being called Megatron. And, of course, Megatron being voiced by Frank Welker. So, yeah, and in exchange, the thing is that Megatron and the Decepticons, and one of the Decepticons, Barricade, who appeared in the first Transformers film, he took the form of a police car, and supposedly he survived. Yeah, Barricade found a way, so he's all right. And Megatron and Barricade, the Decepticons, they are looking for a talisman that could lead them to the staff, which being Merlin's staff. And that's another thing, because the talisman, Cade finds an ancient Autobot, and the ancient Autobot, before dying, gives Cade the talisman, and basically, it's a big connection to Cade. It gets on his wrist, and kind of at times travels around his body. So another important piece in the film, the talisman. And so, yeah, the Decepticons, they team up, they trick, and they use and trick the TRF, and Megatron, he wants some Decepticons, be released from prison, stuff like that. And there's this Suicide Squad montage, an introduction of the Decepticons, just how it's done in the first Suicide Squad film. You know what I'm talking about. Like, we have, say, Mohawk, and there was, like, I think, I don't know, because, which ones? Like, yeah, Nitro Zeus, being voiced by John DiMaggio. Like, you would recognize, a voice actor like John DiMaggio. And I think, I don't know, like, also, Nitro Zeus was also voiced by Stephen Barr, apparently. Okay. And so, the Decepticons and the TRF, they find the location of the Autobots in the junkyard, and thus, you know, they escape from the TRF and the Decepticons, a little battle that takes place in a little town. And even say, like, I think, yeah, Megatron, he took, what was his name again? Squeaks? Yeah, Squeaks. Took Squeaks, had him held hostage. And by the way, another Decepticon, you know, that being led by Megatron, Mohawk, a tiny Decepticon, being voiced by Reno Wilson as well. So yeah, Reno Wilson voicing Mohawk and Squeaks. Megatron takes Squeaks hostage, and Isabella, like, gosh, Isabella, like, you know, like, stay put and take cover, like, you know, she just goes out, and, like, I understand, like, she doesn't want to see Squeaks get hurt. She doesn't want to lose Squeaks either. She lost, you know, Canopy and doesn't want to lose another. So yeah. So of course the Autobots do defeat some of the Decepticons, but at one point, Cade, Jimmy, and Isabella, they come across in an abandoned, I think, yeah, hotel named Cogman. Yeah, Cogman, this, like, an old Autobot who's kind of acts like a butler. And gosh, Cogman is a strong Autobot because, gosh, at one point, like, Crosshairs, he calls him C-3PO at one point, like a C-3PO wannabe, and Cogman grabs a hold of, like, Crosshair's fingers and, like, crushing them. Like, he's stronger than them. Like, geez Louise. And Cogman being voiced by Jim Carter. Yeah. Because basically, Cogman recruits Cade to meet with somebody that, yeah, like, you know, he needs Cade's help, but also, he also needs help from someone else alongside with Cade, which is the Oxford professor. Yeah, Vivian Wembley, played by Laura Haddock. And Laura Haddock, she's best known for playing Star-Lord's mother from the Guardians of the Galaxy films. Yeah, that's her. So Vivian Wembley, being this Oxford professor in the UK, you know, she knows all about the medieval times, and something about Vivian, she is connected to somebody, which, that was pretty cool, which I'll get to when I get to it. So Vivian is recruited as well. Of course, an Autobot, bringing her in. And that Autobot that brings in Vivian is Hot Rod. Yeah, we get Hot Rod in one of the live-action Transformers films, and Hot Rod being voiced by Amr Sy. Yeah, I think I got the full name right. And, like, you know, Hot Rod, he has this funny accent, you know, Madame, stuff, a voice like that, I don't know, like, I think according to, like, the one that, had, like, wanted to bring in Vivian and Cade, like, according to him, like, Hot Rod is stuck with that voice. He got that voice. I can't remember, something like that. But the person that brought in Cade and Vivian together for help is Sir Edmund Burton. Yep, being played by none other than Sir Anthony Hopkins, aka Dr. Hannibal Lecter / Odin. Yeah, and I gotta say, Anthony Hopkins in Transformers: The Last Knight, I don't think he disappointed, and he never disappoints. He's good in anything, even if it's a movie that is not that good. You get my point. Because it's Anthony Hopkins, and Gosh, I remember reading an article where he commented on Michael Bay, calling him a genius, like a mad genius or something like that. And I'll take his word, like, yeah, Michael Bay is a genius because of the movies he's done, especially the Transformers films, how they've turned out, how the Transformers and the action, all that stuff, you get my point. So, Sir Edmund Burton summons Cade and Vivian because there's something about Vivian and Cade that they're a part of and that they don't really know about. And yeah, Edmund is a part of this as well because so many people from, say, Queen Elizabeth, the Wright brothers, Stephen Hawking, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and of course, Sam and his great-great-grandfather, from the first Transformers films. They're a part of this secret colony, keeping the secrets of the Autobots on Earth. So I think that's pretty cool. And, also, because, Sir Edmund, because, yeah, he has, Conmund, I think that's how the name is said. Yeah, Conmund. He's, again, because, Cogman is like a butler to, Edmund. And Edmund has a couple of other, old, Autobots. And one that's that takes the form of a tank, and thinking that he's still in 1908 or 1914, because he accidentally, shoots targeting in the spot where Bumblebee is at walking. It's pretty funny. And apparently, because speaking of Bumblebee, because even Edmund had met Bumblebee before when he was a boy, and Bumblebee had been on Earth, even before, meeting Sam, and, he had been a part of World War II, taking on the Nazis. Yeah, isn't that interesting, the Autobots being a part of World War II, and yeah, having extra help from them, just saying. And speaking of World War II and the Nazis, Edmund has this, either it's an Autobot or Decepticon. I mean, the film itself and Edmund never establishes what it is, if it's an Autobot or a Decepticon. They never do. This tiny, wild, rampaging robot that, Edmund has it kept in a glass jar, it takes the form of a watch. And that robot that takes the form of a watch, it killed Hitler. So that's an interesting twist. And, for this being in the Transformers films. So yeah, changing history and stuff like that, as I said, again, because of what happened in Dark of the Moon, the dinosaurs, you name it. So, and basically because Edmund, explains to Cade and Vivian about, the medieval times and with the Autobots, and we find out that Vivian is a relative of Merlin. Yeah, that's interesting. And Edmund explaining about the talisman that Cade has, it would be given to, the talisman would be given to the Last Knight, and thus Cade is the Last Knight. Yeah, hence the title. And with the talisman, as I said, the talisman, finding and tracking down, I think, yeah, the staff, Merlin's staff, and only Vivian, who is a relative of Merlin, can wield the staff and, defeat evil and stuff like that, you name it. And speaking of evil, because, what happens with Optimus Prime, because it didn't talk about Optimus Prime that much, the thing is, we don't get that much of Optimus Prime, nor Isabella, Jimmy, and the Autobots that are at the junkyard. We don't get that much of them, because throughout most of the film, when Cade is brought in to meet with Sir Edmund and, with Vivian, the rest of the film, we get them, and, they're in England and stuff like that. But I don't know. I mean, as I said, like we do get some backstory and origins of Isabella, so that helps, you know. But Optimus Prime, as I said, like him out in space, and he's trying to find what's left of Cybertron, and he does. In fact, he was adrift in space, like frozen, but he does find his way to Cybertron, crash landing on Cybertron, and he meets his creator, and that being Quintessa. Yeah, Quintessa is, yeah, and I'll read this. Quintessa is a mysterious and powerful space sorceress and one of the two main antagonists. Yeah. And yeah, so Quintessa is Autobot's creator. And Quintessa was played by Gemma Chan. Yeah, I think I got the full name right. And basically, because we find out from Quintessa that Earth is also Unicron. Yeah, we get a bit of Unicron in one of the live-action Transformers films, and basically there are these giant pieces that are around Earth that connect to Unicron, because basically what's left of Cybertron, it's making its way to Earth. I think, to destroy Unicron, and with it, Earth. So, yeah, the Earth is soon to be doomed once again. And unfortunately, Quintessa takes control of Optimus Prime, him under her commands, and she changes his name from Optimus Prime to Nemesis Prime. Like, oh my gosh, and the fact that, he becomes evil and obeying her commands, to destroy Unicron as well as Earth. Like, this is insane. Like, this is Optimus Prime we're talking about. But I think it's obvious when that happens to Optimus, we all should know that in the end, he becomes good and, like, he's no longer under her commands. I'm pretty sure that audiences would know that when seeing this movie. Just saying. But to speed things up, Cade, Vivian, Edmund, and Bumblebee, and Cogman, and Hot Rod, they're being hunted down by, of course, the TRF, and they escape from the castle that they were in, Edmund's home, and basically they need to track down the grave of Merlin and where the staff is, because the staff was put in Merlin's grave. And another pretty cool card chase in a Transformers film, and in this, like, the one Decepticon, Barricade, chasing down Bumblebee. And Bumblebee at one point, defeats Barricade, causing Barricade to wreck. And they get to the Navy Museum. And Cade, Vivian, and Edmund and the Autobots, they get control of an old submarine. And by the way, another familiar face that we see in this film that at times was trying to help out Edmund with some information, as he had before in, the first Transformers films. That being Simmons, once again played by John Turturro. Yeah, it's good to see him again. And where he lives, there are a couple of Autobots that are with Simmons, and one of them being Volleybot, voiced by Stephen Barr. And, literally, I think, Volleybot, he plays volleyball. And funny interactions between Volleybot and Simmons. It's pretty funny. So yeah, even say, funny moments between Simmons and Edmund. And Simmons is wanting Edmund to knight him of something. I forget what it was. In, if he doesn't Simmons will tell Edmund some information that he has, only, but he wants to get knighted. So, Simmons, having a good personality and funny moments, yeah. And another familiar face that we get in this film, and I forgot to mention him because, he had been in the first Transformers films, that is. General Marshauer, played by Glenn Marshauer. It's pretty funny because both him and his character share the last name. So yeah, he had been in the first Transformers films, and we once again see him in this. And as I said, the TRF, and Lennox being there, chasing down our main human characters and the Autobots. And I think, because one of the other members of the TRF, Centenos, played by Santiago Cabrera, I think I'm getting the full name right. I don't know. Basically, Centenos is pretty much the asshole in this film, and him and Lennox don't get along pretty well throughout most of the film. And even like when he was at one point trying to target at Cade and like saying, "You're a dead man." And by the way, because speaking of which, with the characters being hunted down, and as I mentioned, Cade, Jimmy, and Isabella, they're in that one hotel building, and it seems like Jimmy is just asking to get killed because there are these drones from the TRF. Like, the way that these drones look, like, I assume that they're drones. Like, why wouldn't they be? They kind of remind me of the TIE fighters, specifically Darth Vader's TIE fighter. Like, Darth Vader's TIE fighter has those, like, bent wings. So, yeah, that's what it reminded me of. At one point, Jimmy, he gets killed. Like, not killed, I'm sorry. He gets shot. Well, you think he gets killed, but no, actually, he survives that. I think Cade said it was, what was it, a pouch or something? Was that what it was? I don't know, but Jimmy does not get killed, so that's good. Again, even though we don't get that much of Jimmy, as I said, like, come on, movie. They seem like pretty interesting characters from Jimmy and Isabella. Why couldn't we get more of them? I'm only saying. Okay, so again, to still speed things up, Cade, Vivian, Edmund, and the Autobots, they hijack an old submarine. Even say, like, Cade and Vivian, they don't seem to get along at first. But I don't know. They do, of course, soon connect. And, another thing is, even Cade's daughter, Tess, pointed out to her dad that, he needs to find a girlfriend. And I think we all knew that this would be coming, that Cade would be with Vivian, like they would be a match. And of course they are. Even say on the submarine, actually, Edmund does not join for the rest of the adventure to find Merlin's grave, and, with the grave, Merlin's staff. He stays behind and to convince and get help from the Prime Minister. And, and according to Edmund, like, the Prime Minister that he meets is a new Prime Minister. And it's pretty funny because how Edmund got into the Prime Minister's office, there was like a secret door leading to the Prime Minister's office, and like threatening the security guards, like that he has the robot that's, in the form of a watch, the one that killed Hitler, threatening that he's going to unleash that watch if they don't listen to him. Even like telling the Prime Minister to shut up. Like, yeah, listen to Edmund. Anthony Hopkins, like, you do not interrupt Anthony Hopkins. Somebody like Anthony Hopkins. And yeah, Edmund does successfully convince the Prime Minister to get some help and to take on the Decepticons because, with Cade and Vivian and Cogman and Bumblebee, they're on the submarine, and Bumblebee, he's outside of the submarine, and of course, he's perfectly fine underwater. They do come across the sunken giant alien ship, and they're being they're like tagging along our main characters, of course, being the TRF. And so they get into this ancient, like, giant spaceship where lies the ancient Autobots, those during the medieval times, and Merlin's grave. And, of course, inside of Merlin's grave is the staff. And I think Cade was kind of pissed at first, like, it probably wasn't the staff, but no, it is. Again, the thing is, Vivian is the only one that can wield it, because, again, she is a relative of Merlin. And at one point, they accidentally wake up the ancient Autobots, with the swords. And TRF coming in, and Optimus Prime coming in, now Nemesis Prime, and threatening that, he will kill Vivian if she doesn't give him the staff. And of course, she does. They have no other choice. And Cade assures Bumblebee that, that is not Optimus Prime, like, he's not himself, and there's something wrong with him. And Bumblebee goes after Optimus, now Nemesis, to fight him and to just get him to snap out of it, basically. And also, the TRF finally does help out Cade and Vivian. And Cade also helping Bumblebee, to, get Optimus out of this spell and under mind control of Quintessa. And at one point, when Optimus is like pinning down Bumblebee, Optimus at one point like goes for, I think, Bumblebee's throat. And at one point, we get Bumblebee's voice. Like, his voice comes back, and Bumblebee saying to Optimus that, he is his friend and stuff like that. And that's what gets Optimus out of mind control, just like that. He's back to his old self. And, Optimus has a lot of guilt in him. And, and he's like, what have I done? But, it wasn't his fault. He was under mind control, as we all know. And thus, all hell breaks loose. It seems as though that Earth is doomed. And, we come back to Isabella, Jimmy, and the Autobots at the junkyard. They can see outside, like, I think that they say that there are 2 moons. But, yeah, disaster is coming. What's left of Cybertron has arrived, finally. And all the characters get together. Optimus, Bumblebee, Cade, Vivian, those at the junkyard, and, of course, TRF. They all come together to take on Quintessenta and to defeat, like, all evil once and for all. And, of course, the Decepticons. And even Edmund coming in with, I want to say, like, the UK military, something like that, taking on the Decepticons. Gosh, I didn't even see this coming. Megatron kills Edmund. Like, no, not Edmund. Not one of Anthony Hopkins' characters. Like, you get my point. Like, that's a bummer. And, in an emotional moment between Edmund and Cogman saying his goodbyes to Edmund, and that Cogman, he mentions that, he witnessed all of Edmund's past relatives dying, and now witnessing Edmund dying. Yeah. Pretty sad. It's unfortunate. You know what? Like, it's strange. Like, Cade and Vivian, they didn't, say goodbye to Edmund. Like, were they unaware that he was killed? Or they might have been told. Like, obviously, Cogman must have told them at some point. But, and thus, again, all the characters, they get on the ship, where Quintessenta is, and taking on the Decepticons. And also, there were these, Autobot, dragons, and that were there during the medieval times. And by the way, the ancient Autobots from the medieval times, they help out as well. And it's pretty cool seeing Optimus flying on the Autobot-like dragon, and of course, Quintessenta is defeated, and Vivian, with the staff, does defeat the Quintessenta and the Decepticons once and for all, and even say the talisman that was a part of Cade, he has some use of it, the talisman takes form of a sword, and hence Cade being the last knight. There you go. By the way, more on the talisman, it was pretty funny because when they're on the submarine, the talisman just, again, crawling around Cade's body, and even at one point, it goes into Cade's pants. Oh, that was pretty funny. And as I mentioned, Cade and Vivian, they of course get together and, they share a kiss. And, we get some, funny lines from Hound, of course, like in Age of Extinction, his first appearance in that. And Isabella and, I almost forgot his name, Squeaks, Squeaks. Squeaks and Isabella, they help out, of course. And, Isabella had found her family, which being, of course, Cade and the Autobots. Yeah. So as I said, all is defeated, and it seems like the humans and the Autobots, they seem to be on good terms now. So that's good. And by the way, there was another character that appeared a little bit in this film. He is a GPL engineer, and he was played by Tony Hale. Yeah, Tony Hale in a Transformers movie. Yeah, he was funny and helping out the TRF, and also there was the JPL director played by Claude Noatol. How do you pronounce that last name? I'm sorry. And Optimus Prime, of course, getting the last lines of the film, giving a speech, of course. And actually, during the credits, we get a mid-credit scene. It turns out that Quintessenta is not defeated. She is not and Optimus Prime getting a speech, obviously, as he did in all the other Transformers films. And we get a mid-credits scene. Turns out that Quintessenta has not been defeated, and she comes across, this group of people, it's in the desert, and, one piece of Unicron that they're at, and Quintessenta telling one guy, do not wake him, do not wake him, or, disturb him, however she said it. So, yeah, we're not done with Quintessenta nor Unicron yet. So, yeah, obviously a tease for, what would come next. Oh boy, evil has still not been defeated, and neither the Decepticons. So yeah, Transformers: The Last Knight, I don't think it was that bad. Definitely, it has its haters, but also it has its lovers. And how do I rate Transformers: The Last Knight? Good question. Well, yeah, it's on my mind. I give it, 7 out of 10 stars. 7 out of 10 stars for Transformers: The Last Knight. And what about you guys? What did you think of Transformers: The Last Knight itself? And what did you think of my review? Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. So, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Transformers: The Last Knight. More review videos coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I'll see you guys in the next video/review. Well, the Transformers marathon is almost over. One more Transformers movie to review, and we all know what it is. It's all about this Autobot. Stay tuned for that later tonight. Take care, and peace out.